SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટ ના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
નમસ્કાર વિદ્યાર્થી મિત્રો. ભાવનાબેન હાથી એમજી સાયન્સ ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યૂટ નવરંગપુરા અમદાવાદમાંથી આપનું આંકડાશાસ્ત્ર વિષયમાં હાર્દિક સ્વાગત કરું છું. વિદ્યાર્થી મિત્રો, આજે જ્યારે મને તમારી સાથે વાતો કરવાની તક મળી જ છે તો મારી ખૂબ ઈચ્છા છે કે તમારા મનમાં મને એવો ખ્યાલ છે કે કદાચ પણ જો ખોટો ખ્યાલ હોય આંકડાશાસ્ત્ર વિષયના મૂળભૂત વિચારો વિશેનો તો તે દૂર કરવા હું માગું છું. હું તમને એમ જણાવવા માગું છું કે આંકડાશાસ્ત્ર વિષય માટે 12મા ધોરણમાં છોકરું પાસ થઈને જ્યારે સાયન્સ લાઈન લઈને કોલેજમાં એન્ટ્રી આપે છે, એડમિશન લેવા આવે છે, ત્યારે એવું માને છે કે સ્ટેટિસ્ટિક્સ અરે આ તો કોમર્સનો વિષય છે, અહીં સાયન્સમાં એનું શું કામ? તો આ ખ્યાલ સદંતર ખોટો છે. મહેરબાની કરીને મિત્રો, આજે આપને હું 2 મિનિટ પહેલાં જણાવી દઉં, પછી મારા ટોપિક ઉપર આવીશ કે સ્ટેટિસ્ટિક્સ એ સાયન્સનો જ વિષય છે જેની ઘણી બધી જુદી જુદી શાખાઓ છે, જેમાંની એક બ્રાન્ચ કોમર્સ છે, વાણિજ્ય છે. મેડિકલ ફિલ્ડ હોય, એન્જિનિયરિંગ ફિલ્ડ હોય, ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્સીનું ફિલ્ડ હોય, તમે કોઈ પણ રિલેટેડ કેમિકલ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી વિચારો, ફાર્માસ્યુટિકલ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી વિચારો, હોસ્પિટલો વિચારો, ગમે ત્યાં તમારે સ્ટેટિસ્ટિશિયનની જરૂર અવશ્ય પડશે. માટે સ્ટેટિસ્ટિક્સ વિષય માત્ર કોમર્સનો જ છે. આ ખ્યાલ સાથે પ્રવેશ મેળવતા, સાયન્સ લાઇનમાં પ્રવેશ મેળવતા વિદ્યાર્થીઓ જ્યારે સ્ટેટિસ્ટિક્સ આવે છે ત્યારે કહે છે કે આ સાયન્સનો સબ્જેક્ટ છે, તો આ વાત સાવ ખોટી છે. આ વિશે મારી પહેલાં તમને જાણ કરવાની ઈચ્છા હતી. મિત્રો, ખૂબ ધ્યાનથી સાંભળજો. દુનિયામાં જેમ ભગવાન સર્વત્ર છે તે જ રીતે હું એવું કહીશ તો જરાય અતિશયોક્તિ નથી કે કોઈ પણ ક્ષેત્રમાં આંકડાશાસ્ત્રની જરૂર તો પડે જ છે. તેથી રસપૂર્વક ધ્યાન દઈને અહીં જે ભણાવવામાં આવે છે તે બધા જ વિષયો વિશે આપ સાંભળજો અને નોટ પણ ઉતારજો. તે ઘરે જઈને વાંચજો, આપને અવશ્ય લાભ થશે. હવે આપણે ટીવી સ્ક્રીન ઉપર તમે જોઈ શકો છો. ઇન્ડેક્સ નંબર્સ, ઇકોનોમિક બેરોમીટર્સ. Introduction and definition. According to M.M. Blair, index numbers are the signs and guideposts along the business that indicate to the businessman how he should derive or manage his affairs. As a barometer in physics or in chemistry measures the pressure of atmosphere or gases, so the index numbers measures the pressure of economic behavior and thus reveal the economic conditions, and hence the index numbers are called economic barometers. An index number is a number that measures the relative change in a set of measurements over time. Let us see first of all the uses of index numbers. There are so many uses of index numbers, but some of them I can enumerate here. Number 1, index numbers are used to study the oscillations of the price structure, which is a complex phenomenon affected by multiple causes such as demand, supply, lack of money in the market, financial policy of the government, etc. Number 2, they are used in finding out the purchasing power of money. Also, they indicate the purchasing power of currency, which will indicate that the national economy is passing through inflation, recession, or is just in the normal condition. Number 3, index numbers are used in studying the physical changes over a period of time. Changes may be in the volume of trade, industrial production, sales, stock of goods, exports, imports, etc. Number 4. According to Bowley, index numbers are used to measure the changes in some quantity which we cannot observe directly. We cannot average out. For example, let us take an example to see the point number 4. For example, we cannot average out the changes in business activity of a country directly, since it shall involve many factors expressible in different units of their measurements. In such situation, relative variations are computed. Our index numbers are simply the averages of these relative variations, and that is why index numbers are called specialized type of averages. We know averages, but index numbers are called specialized type of averages. Let us see point number 5. Is a measure of average change in a group of elements. Index numbers are used in forecasting business conditions and in discovering the effects of trend, seasonal and cyclical fluctuations. Number 6. They are used to study the general rise or fall in the business conditions. Number 7. The cost of living index number, which is a special branch of index number. Of course, we will see what is a cost of living index number on the foregoing lectures. So, the cost of living index number, which is a special branch of index number, is used in determining the dearness allowance (DA) of workers, their wages, etc. So, we can see now, which is very important point, the price relative. When we study index number, we must know what is a price relative. The price of a commodity in a given year expressed as a percentage of the price of the some commodity in a specified year is called price relative. We can see one example to describe what is a price relative. So, for example, suppose the price of wheat in India in the year 1970 was suppose rupees 95 per quintal, and in the year 1969 the price of wheat was rupees 80 per quintal. Okay, then using 1969 as base year, the price relative is 95 upon 80 multiplied by 100. So, it will be 118.75%. Let us see, first of all, the classification of index numbers. There are various approaches for the classification of index numbers. Number 1, based on variables. Now, when we see based on variables, again there are 4 types: price index, quantity index, value index and production index. We can see based on retail prices or based on wholesale prices. In this, there are 2 types: cost of living index number we have to study, and the wholesale price index numbers also we have to study. For both the index numbers, we will see the construction steps, the various formulas and the corresponding related examples for cost of living index number as well as for wholesale price index numbers in later on due courses. Number 3 is based on weights. Here, unweighted index number and weighted index number. Unweighted is also called simple index numbers, and we have to look for the formulas and sums related to these topics. Now, before going to the topic for index number, the main important thing in the basic clearance point of view, that one must know what is a base year and what is a current year. In the computation of an index number, we require 2 years. The given year whose values are to be compared is called a current year or a current period, while the specified year whose values are taken as standard values is called a base year or a base period. As for example, if the prices of 1970 are compared with the prices of 1969, okay, then naturally 1979 is our current year and 1969 is our base year. Thus, this index number is in general denoted by I01 or P01, where 0, the suffix 0 denotes the base year, that is, here in this case it is 1969, and the suffix 1 stands for the current year, that is, in this case it is 1970. So now let us see about some examples, and as we have discussed about the classification of index numbers. First of all, there are three main types of unweighted or simple price index numbers. There are three main types of unweighted index numbers. One, simple index number. Number two, simple average of price relatives. And number three, simple aggregate of prices. So let us take one by one with explanation, with their formulas, and we will take one example to illustrate all of these things. So first of all, simple price index numbers gives the meaning of this is what? Simple price index numbers are nothing but the ordinary relatives expressed in percentages. Okay, let us consider that P0 is the price of ith commodity in the base year. P0I is the price for the ith commodity in the base year, and P1I is the price of the ith commodity in the current year. We have seen P1 is the price for current year, P0 is the price for the base year. Here I denotes the number of commodity, I running from 1, 2, 3 and so on up to M. So price of ith commodity in the base year is denoted by P0I. Similarly, P1I, price of ith commodity in the current year. So it is clear. Now we find out the ratio of these two prices. Current year's prices will be taken in numerator, that is P1, and P0 is the base year price. So P1I upon P0I multiplied by 100 is the simple price index number of ith commodity in the current year relative to the base year for I equal to 1, 2 and so on up to M, where M is the number of commodities taken together. So what we have studied in simple price index numbers? Simple price index number is simple, there is no weight involved, so it is also known as unweighted index numbers. Here we have to do only price of the current year divided by price of the base year. The ratio is multiplied by 100. So P1 upon P0 into 100. Why we put I above to P1 and P0? I denotes the number of commodity, ith commodity. If we take I equal to 1, then first commodity, I equal to 2, second commodity, and so on. Suppose there are M commodities, then put I equal to M, then all the commodities will be included separately, and we can find out the simple or unweighted price index numbers in this way. Now let us take an example for the same. So you can see here the example number 1. Okay, you can see, okay, the average wholesale prices in rupees per 20 seers of wheat, okay, sold in UP during 1953 to 1958 are given in the table below. In this table it is given. So using 1956 as base, we have to find out the price relatives by using simple index numbers corresponding to all the years. So here the table is given. You can see price of wheat is given and year is given. Okay, so the total table, you can see the correct example. Okay, year is 1953, 1954, 1955 and so on up to 1958. Corresponding prices are 14.95, 14.94, 15.10 and so on. The prices are given. Now as we know, price of the year 1956 is taken as base year, that is we have given. So corresponding to 1956, that is known as base year for this example. Which price is there? 15.65. So we have to take this as P0. So this will be our P0, that is the price for the base year. every other price is known as the current year's price, then corresponding to 1953. How will you calculate simple index number unweighted? By taking base 1956. So it is P1 upon P0 into 100, that we know as above just now. So what is that? 14.95 upon 15.65 multiplied by 100, which will give us 95.5. Now for the second, again 14.94 divided by the same figure 15.65 and multiplied by 100, and so on and so forth. In this way we can calculate. So assuming the price of 1956 as 100, the price relatives for the remaining years have been calculated. The required simple index numbers are given in the last column of this table, that is we have seen. So now we can see the simple average of price relatives. The second method is what? Simple average of price relatives. To measure the average percentage change in the prices of M commodities, we can calculate index number P01, which is defined as the simple arithmetic mean of price relatives. Everybody knows about the arithmetic mean, geometric mean, harmonic mean. Here, first of all, we will use arithmetic mean. The sum of the given observations divided by the number of observations will give you simple arithmetic mean. That is very simple. Here we have to find out the arithmetic mean of the price relatives. So we first of all find out the summation of P1i upon P0i, this factor. Okay. Now I is number of commodities. How many commodities are there? M commodities. So it will be divided by 1 upon M. And the total thing is multiplied by 100 to get P01. That is the simple average of price relatives. So here our formula is to measure the average percentage change in the prices of M commodities, we can calculate index number P01, which is defined as the simple arithmetic mean of price relatives. So P01 equal to 1 upon M summation P1i upon P0i into 100, where I running from 1 to M. We may also define the simple average of price relatives based on the geometric mean of the price relatives. So as we know the geometric mean, instead of arithmetic mean, now we use the formula for geometric mean to find out P01, the same index number given by product I running from 1 to M, P1i upon P0i whole raised to 1 upon M. That is, we find out the mth root. We can find out this by mth root of, so you know it, of course you know it, mth root is the same as raised to 1 upon M. And by taking log on both the sides, we get log of P01 is 1 upon M times sigma log P1i upon P0i, and it is easily found out. So before going to, after completing this, we can have the third method. The method is simple aggregate of prices. Simple aggregate of prices. I want to tell you that the simple aggregate of price index number, so you can see here the simple aggregate of prices, 1 minute, simple aggregate of prices. Okay, the simple aggregate of price index for a given time interval, the simple aggregate of price index for a given time interval is the sum of the prices per unit of all the commodities under consideration at the given time interval, that is the current period, expressed as percent relative to the corresponding price for the base period. That is, P01 is the simple aggregate price index number which we want. Its formula is sigma P1 upon sigma P0 multiplied by M. Now you can see, students, what is the difference between these two? Before this we have seen the method in which we have find out P1 upon P0 and then we have take the summation. Here in this method we are taking sigma P1 upon sigma P0 and it is multiplied by 100. So we find out the summation of particular current year's price, then summation of particular base year price, and then we take the summation, then we take the ratio, and it is multiplied by 100, where sigma P1 and sigma P0 are the sum of the prices of the commodities in the current year and in the base year respectively. So this simple formula suffers from the following serious defects, that there are two defects. This formula assigns equal weight to the absolute change of each commodity, and as a result of it, a commodity with a higher per unit price tends to exert more effect in the group than in the comparison of the commodity with a cheaper price. So this second drawback is this, this formula is unsuitable or illogical if the prices are not in the same unit. As for example, suppose we are to obtain the aggregative type of index number for the following data. Now you can see the data is here. So commodity is given: wheat, sugar, matches and kerosene oil. We know that the unit for wheat is what? 1 kilogram. In the same way, unit for sugar is also 1 kilogram. But what is about the unit of matchbox? It can't be have any unit like kilogram. It can be measured in packet of a dozen boxes, isn't it? Then kerosene oil, it can be, the unit of kerosene oil is what? 1 liter. So of course price in rupees for 1972 is given, 1975 is given, and we find out the sigma P1, sigma P0. We take the ratio and multiply by it. It should be multiplied by 100. It is 107.7. If we change the units of wheat and sugar to per quintal, then it will be P72 to 75 will be given to be this, that is 0.9. So it shows the unsuitability. It shows the unsuitability of the formula where the data are given in the same units. So here the formula for simple aggregate of prices differs, and it has effects instead of kilogram only for all the commodities is given, we are using the different units: dozen, kilogram, quintal, then liter, etc. simultaneously in one example. Then it becomes difficult to measure the price relatives. Now after this, let us see something about the limitations of index numbers. Let us see limitations of index numbers. You can see on the TV screen some are the limitations. Like statistics, index numbers are liable to be misused. Besides this, like other measures, index numbers are also having certain limitations. We cannot include all the commodities relating to a phenomenon in the calculation of an index number. So we have to depend only on the selection of the representative commodities, which may give false conclusions. Number 2, the index number which is useful for one purpose cannot be used for another purpose, because each index is computed in a different way and for a different use. Number 3, they are approximate indicators of the relative change, that is, they do not correspond to the absolute or to the real change. At times this may be misleading. So these are the limitations of index numbers. Let us see some more. Being a specialized type of the averages only, the index numbers are subject to all those limitations with which an average suffers. Also, there may be error in the selection of the averages only. They are subject to all those limitations with which an average suffers. There may be error in the selection of the right type of index number. Which index number is correct and which is not correct for the particular group. and also in its construction of an index number, such as in the selection of the weights and base period, etc. Relative importance of the commodities and services go on changing with the change of time and place. So every time old labor and decisions becomes obsolete. Let us see some main points in the construction of index numbers. So विद्यार्थी मित्रों, students, now આપણે સ્ટેટિસ્ટિક્સમાં ઇન્ડેક્સ નંબરના ઘણા બધા ઉપયોગો જોયા છે. તમને ઇન્ડેક્સ નંબરનું કન્સ્ટ્રક્શન કઈ રીતે કરવું એ ઇઝી વાત નથી. કોઈ પણ સરકાર, સેન્ટ્રલ ગવર્મેન્ટ કે સ્ટેટ ગવર્મેન્ટ, એ ઇન્ડેક્સ નંબર વગર એને ચાલતું જ નથી. તો ઇન્ડેક્સ નંબર્સની ગણતરી કરવા માટે એનું કન્સ્ટ્રક્શન કરવું પડે છે અને એ કન્સ્ટ્રક્શન કરવા માટે ખૂબ અગત્યના એવા આપણે 5 થી 6 મુદ્દાઓનો અત્યારે અભ્યાસ કરીશું. લેટ અસ સી સમ ઓફ ધેમ. મેઇન પોઈન્ટ્સ ઇન ધ કન્સ્ટ્રક્શન ઓફ ઇન્ડેક્સ નંબર્સ. ધી ફોલોઈંગ 6 પોઈન્ટ્સ are mainly involved in the construction of an index number. Number 1, object and scope of index numbers. Number 2, selection of items to be included. Number 3, choice of the source for collecting the data such as price quotations, etc. Number 4, choice of the base period or base year. Number 5, choice of the average or the mathematical formula. Number 6, system of weighting to be accepted, and so on. Okay, now we shall discuss these steps one by one. Let us see object and scope. In deciding about all other points involved in the construction of an index number, the most important factor is the object with which an index number is being constructed. All the index numbers are not equally suitable for all the purposes. For example, change in income may be reflected by the cost of living index and not by the wholesale price index. Also, the scope of the index number should clearly be stated. It includes the region, that is, place to be covered, and the frequency of complication with respect to time. Let us see number 2, selection of items. The selection of the items or the selection of the commodities is to be made such that number 1, they represent the real habits, tastes and the customs of the people. Such items must be avoided which are not of common use. As for example, maize or bajra is not a common food, and rape, a liquid form of gur, is not a commodity of general taste, and therefore such commodities must be omitted from the list of food commodities, and so on. Number 2, it must be easily recognizable and describable. That is, a commodity which has not been seen or heard about by the people must also be avoided to be included in the list of items. Number 3, there must be no any significant variation in the quality of the commodities selected. That is, one must be aware about the standard quality of the items. If several qualities of that item are available in the market, for example, there is a large variation among qualities of, say, rice alone. Therefore, one quality already specified must be used uniformly for the construction of all the indices. So, number 3, the main steps in the construction of index numbers. Let us see about the choice of source for collecting price quotations. Prices of the commodities differ from place to place and even from shop to shop. We cannot include all these different prices, and we have to select the representative ones. So the wholesale price quotations and not the retail prices, must be called for the separated quality of the commodities. Even these quotations are to be called from leading wholesale dealers or stores, or they must be obtained from the standard trade journals, which are regularly published by standard agencies or government departments. Number 4, choice of the base period. The point of reference is called the base. The observations of the base point of time or of place are taken as the standard. Relative changes are calculated as percentages against the values of this base period. Any change in base period will change the magnitude of the percentages. So it should be selected with proper care. About so the base period, that is the period which comparisons can be made, must be a normal year. By normal period we mean that period which is free from all sorts of abnormalities or random ones. So what is a normal period, Vidyarthi Mitro? What is a normal period? One knows that we should select a base year. Here in index numbers we are making comparisons, of course, with the base year and current year. We have to find out the current year's price, what is the change in that price with respect to a specified base year. But which base year we should select? We should select that base year which should be a normal period. What do you mean by normal? It is not abnormal. That means during that year there should not be war, any type of earthquake should not take place, flood or a strike by laborers or something extraneous activities which should not place in that year. If it exists, then that year should not be selected by us as a base year. So the selection of base year is also very important point in the construction of index numbers. There are so many points in the construction of index numbers. We have seen some of them, and when we see the choice of base period, then for the selection of base year there are two methods available. One is fixed base method and second is chain base method. Let us see one by one. In fixed base method, a normal year or average of the groups of years is taken as the base period, and then price relatives are calculated by dividing the prices of all the commodities in the current year by the prices of corresponding commodities in the base year, and we multiply this quotient by 100. The fixed base year should not be a remote past, okay, because over a long span a base year may be become outdated. So it should not be too long and it should not be too short. What we mean to tell you, the selection of base year should not be too long, too far, or it should not be too short like a day. So it should be in moderate format only. Next we see the chain base method. In the chain base method, the price relative of a commodity for any year is obtained by dividing the price of that commodity in the particular year by the price of that commodity in the previous year. Thus, if PAI is the price of ith commodity in the 8th year, PBI is the price of ith item or ith commodity in the 5th year, PCI price of ith item in the 6th year, and so on, where A is less than B is less than C, and so on. Then price relative of 5th year is equal to PBI upon PAI into 100, that is known as PAB. Similarly, price relative of the 6th year is equal to PCI upon PBI into 100, that is PBC, etc. So the price relative calculated in this manner are called the link relatives or chain base relatives. So what is the formula we have deduct? the link relative or the chain based price relative of the current year equal to current year's price divided by immediately preceding year's price multiplied by 100. That will give us link relative or chain based price relative. So I repeat it, the link relative or the chain based price relative of the current year is equal to current year's price divided by immediately preceding year's price. The quotient is multiplied by 100. By multiplying successive link relatives, we obtain the chain indices. For example, PAC equal to PAB into PBC upon 100. The choice between fixed base or chain base should be made after taking into account the relative merits of both the methods. But before going to this, we must know what is the different points in the system of weighting to be accepted. So let us see about some of the construction. So before I want to say something about the cost of living index number to you, because students, we have seen today what is price relative, what is current year, what is base year, what are the definitions and what are the different uses of index numbers, what are the limitations of index numbers. Then we have seen simple or unweighted index numbers, simple aggregate index number and weighted index numbers. The classification of index numbers is over in this way. And then we have seen about the main or principal steps in the construction of index number, like choice of base year and so on and so forth. We have seen all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all these steps we have seen. I want to tell you something about another branch of index number which is much more important, and the name of that is cost of living index number. Students, we know that all the people, this what I mean to tell you, we know that the standard of living of all the people is not same. You can see that the standard of living of government employees, the standard of living of private sector employees, the standard of living of say workers, the standard of living of say peons and so on. See, standard of, what I mean to tell you, is not same. The standard of living for different localities, area wise localities, is not same. In the same way, the prices of different commodities will be different in the area wise, or as the area will change, the prices of the commodities will also change. And we want to find out the area wise standard of living of the people by using the cost of living index number, and that's why we give rather much more important to this particular cost of living index number than any. Of course, by using this cost of living index number, the DA, dearness allowance, wages, etc. of the employees can be calculated. And let us see about the, as we have seen the construction steps for the wholesale price index number, in the same way we will see the construction of the cost of living index numbers just now. So we can see the construction of the cost of living index numbers. These index numbers are constructed to study the effects of price changes on the standards of living of the people. There are various considerations regarding the construction of these different type of index numbers, such as commodities to be taken, the income of the consumers of these commodities, locality in which those consumers reside, retail prices of these commodities, since the consumers are not concerned with the wholesale prices of the commodities, etc. Cost of living index numbers are computed separately for different class of people, forming a homogeneous group as regards to their income. So this is very important. You must remember this sentence, that cost of living index numbers are computed separately for different class of people, forming a homogeneous group as regards to their income. As I told you in advance, students, as I told you in advance, that we must gather together a group which is a homogeneous group. Homogeneous in the sense that their income should be like similar. That group we must gather together to calculate this index number. You know the word homogeneity and heterogeneity. Heterogeneous field means what? In which there is much more variation, or the variation is extreme. So it is considered as heterogeneous field. So the variance will be much more because variation is there. While homogeneous field means what? Similarity exists, no variation exists, and hence the variation or corresponding to them variance will be next to 0, nearer to 0, and the standard error, that is the square root of variance, will be naturally 0. So we must choose homogeneous group instead of choosing the heterogeneous group. This is of course a side topic. In order to give the guidance about homogeneous group, for being a particular group, while taking cost of living index number, we have to choose a homogeneous group. Means say LIG people or MIG people. So we take together all those people who are living in low income group society, and then we find out them a particular cost of living index number separately. Then second group, so it should not be mixed up with the MIG people and LIG people. It must be a separate format. It must be gathered together. All the observations, data collection of the data should be from only MIG people, that is middle income group people, or let us take third, so higher income group people, HIG people, and then it will be a homogeneous group to calculate cost of living index number. So we discussed the general index numbers. Following considerations are also necessary in the construction of cost of living index number. So let us see, number 1, first of all, we ascertain the class of people for which index is to be constructed. This class should possibly be a homogeneous group extra containing the people of more or less of the same income group. Number 2, then we conduct a sample budget inquiry on random sampling basis of the class of people selected. That is, we select a sample of people which is true representative of the class of people and inquire about their budget. That is, income and expenditures made on the various items during a normal year. These items can be classified as food, rent, clothing, education, recreation, and miscellaneous. Food can still be sub-classified as rice, wheat, pulses, ghee, etc. This budget inquiry gives the following informations. So, A, the nature, qualities and quantities of commodities consumed by the people classified under the heads of food, clothing, rent, lightening and fuel and miscellaneous groups. B, the detail of different commodities. C, the proportion of expenditure on each individual item which bears the total expenses on the group to which it belongs. For example, proportion of expenditure on rice to the food expenditure can be obtained. And D, the proportion which expenditure on each group bears to the total expenditures, that is, we may know the proportion of expenditure on food to the total expenditure on all the items. Thus, the family budget inquiry forms the basis of the cost of living index numbers, giving us the relevant details needed for the construction of the cost of living index numbers. This is to be marked here that only those commodities are to be included which are popularly used among the class of the people chosen for the purpose. That is, these commodities taken should belong to the taste, habit and custom of that particular class of the people. Then retail price quotations are obtained from the localities in which the selected class of people reside. Then computation of cost of living index number is made. So in this way, the construction of the cost of living index number is made in the following two ways. Number one, method of aggregate expenditure, and number two, weighted relative method or family budget method. So these are the methods for the construction of the cost of living index number. So number one is the method of aggregate expenditure. Here the price of the commodities in the base as well as in the current year are available and thus are weighted by the quantities used in the base year. That is, the cost of living index number is equal to sigma P1Q0 divided by sigma P0Q0 into 100, that is P01L. There is a table which illustrates the calculation for the cost of living index number by this method, that is the method of aggregate expenditure. So you can see here the total data is given to you. There are articles A, B, C, D, E, quantities consumed in the base year, Q for quantity, 0 for base year. So Q0, Q01, Q02 and so on. Price in the base year, P01, P02 and so on. Price in the current year, so we should say P11, P12, P13 and so on. Then expenditure in the base year can be calculated by multiplying price with Q0, price with quantity, price with quantity. So we can obtain expenditure in the base year. In the same way, expenditure in the current year will be obtained by P1 into Q0. So you can find out the summation of the last two columns and divide the ratio sigma P1 Q0 divided by sigma P0 Q0. It should be multiplied by 100 to get the cost of living index number. So after this, in the next session, we shall complete the remaining portion of the cost of living index number. Friends, I want to tell you that initially you must take interest in your study subject. The main important thing today is only to have interest in the subject. જો તમને સબ્જેક્ટમાં ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ હશે અને શાંતિથી સાંભળશો, વિચારશો અને બુક વાંચવાના પ્રયત્નો કરશો તો અવશ્ય તમે આગળ વધશો જ. માટે સબ્જેક્ટમાં રસ કેળવો અને રેગ્યુલર નિયમિત વર્ગો ભરો અને શાંતિથી ભણો એ શુભેચ્છા સાથે હું આજનું સમાપ્ત કરું છું. આપણે નેક્સ્ટ સેશનમાં આગળ વધીશું.
SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.